Let's talk, though, some NFL and play a little pick your poison. Which scenario is more likely? Our producer, Elliot Bowman, put this together. He always loves putting together some of these fun prompts that I think are really good for the content-wise. But this first one is near and dear to my heart, of course, the Dallas Cowboys. And get this, Michael. Which scenario is more likely? Dallas to lead the league in regular season wins at 11-1, or Dak Prescott to lead the league in interceptions at 10-1?
I'm going to go lead the league in wins at 11-1.
Hey-o.
I mean, like everybody, like sometimes those interceptions for Dak weren't his fault. Like this narrative just keeps coming away and running away with itself. Like Dak isn't a guy that can't read coverages or makes mistakes. Like, sometimes he makes poor decisions like all quarterbacks, but sometimes the receivers don't catch the ball. The ball gets tipped up in the air like it's a volleyball game and it gets picked off. It's like, again, I mean, yesterday, the perfect example of it is yesterday's game. Aiden O'Connell's quarterback rating was 117. Trey Lance's was 111. If anybody who has any vision at all watched the game, there was a gap between the two players on how they played, a huge gap. Mm-hmm. So sometimes stats are a little misleading.
Yeah, the one that sickens me is that game against Jacksonville in overtime when Dak, it was a third down play.
That wasn't his fault.
It throws it right to Noah Brown, and Noah Brown, it was almost as if it was his job to tap it up into the air to the defender for the Jaguars, and he runs it back for a game-winning touchdown. Like that stuff, it's like, what do you want him to do there? Guys have got to catch the ball and make a play. This next one, though, this will be fun. What's more likely, Michael Lombardi, and pick your poison? The Chicago Bears to win 10 games or more at plus 250, or the Bears to lose 12 games or more at plus 270?
Oh, I'm going to go 12 games, lose 12. I don't see how the Bears are going to win 10 games. I don't think they're better on defense. I really don't. I think the Eberflus scheme is all about defensive front. It's all about the defensive lineman. They passed on Jalen Carter. They wanted to pick Jalen Carter. We know that. Mm-hmm. But they got concerned about it, and then they made the trade, which kept them out of – now, they could have traded up to get Jalen Carter, right? They could have traded back up to get him, but they didn't. And so, I don't see this defensive front dominating. I know they signed the two linebackers. Edmonds didn't play. Edwards did. I don't think that's going to make a difference. Look, it's all about creating turnovers for Eberflus. I listened to the broadcast the other day when it was on, and they talked about like the Colts had this unbelievable defense. No, wait a minute. The Colts gave up a lot of yards. They just turned the ball. They were good at turning the ball over, right? Mm-hmm. Can the Bears turn the ball over? I don't know. I don't see them winning 10 games. I think it's more likely they lose 12.
Yeah, well, it's plus 270 for those who want to go ahead and bet it and fade the Bears' optimism this offseason. This next one is spicy. What's more likely? Washington Commanders make the playoffs at plus 290, or Ron Rivera is fired mid-season?
Wow. I mean, look, there's really no excuse for Washington not to make the playoffs. If they manage the quarterback correctly, they should. I would go plus 290 on making the playoffs. I don't trust them. I have a lot of doubts about their head coach, about his leadership. Clearly, that came to fruition in the whole Bieniemy thing. Mm-hmm. He doesn't, I don't know what Ron does. It's Del Rio does this and Bieniemy does that, and the special. I don't know what he does. So, but they have a good enough team. It's really, to me, would be a mistake to think that they can't make it. Look, they beat Philly last year. They turned the ball over. They beat Philly at home. Mm-hmm. Right? They had opportunities to win a bunch of games and got no play from the quarterback. People say, well, they got Sam Howell, a quarterback. How's it? Look, Sam Howell can't be any worse than Carson Wentz. Let me just say that to you.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I was ready to go to war with this team here throughout this offseason. Like, we had talked about how this is a really good roster. It's not as bad as people think. The win total at 6.5 doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then we had Rivera's comments in the exposing the lack of leadership. And now I'm just sitting on the sidelines. I'm not looking to actively fade this team, but I don't want to tie up anything mid-season as well. I know this is a little bit of a cop-out for me here, but I think it's a team that you just play game to game. Like they should make the playoffs, like you said. This team is good enough to do that, but I don't know if Rivera is trustworthy. Like he doesn't seem to have it together, or maybe he just doesn't have the proper vision to go ahead and lead this team into the postseason. But it's a team that I wouldn't necessarily fade either, because there's a lot of talent on that roster.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.